On January 1st, 2020, thousands of YouTube channels are going to be demonetized as a result of the FTC settlement and also Coppa. How did we get here and where are we going? Roberto? Hi everybody, I'm Ian Corzine, your social media lawyer, and today we are so blessed. We have Roberto Blake, renowned YouTube educator and creative entrepreneur. Hey Roberto.
How's it going, Ian? Thanks for having me.
All right, today we're talking about Coppa and the future of YouTube after Coppa. Well, first off, how did we get here? This is a collision of interest between kids, creators, YouTube, and the FTC. Way back in 1998, there was a law passed called Coppa, and it was later amended in 2013. The purpose of this Coppa law is to protect kids, but of late, it's been a real bane of existence for us YouTube creators. Because now, Coppa doesn't just protect the name, address, and phone number of children. Now, Coppa requires that no web cookies of children can be accessed, and therefore YouTube is subject to this new law. As a result, content on YouTube that is directed to children under 13 years of age, these channels will be demonetized. They will no longer have YouTube channel features like notifications, like info cards, like end screens. My main problem with Coppa is that it's not narrowly tailored to address the harm. So the harm in this particular case is that YouTube, the FTC, does not want personal information of kids under 13 in the hands of predators. But this new law, this FTC amendment, and also the new rules that YouTube has implemented, they don't narrowly address that. They don't solve the problem. Roberto, what's your thought on this?
So I agree with you, and I thank you for bringing me in on this. I mean, there are a lot of issues with this that I personally have as somebody who mentors content creators and somebody who's been a fan of content creators. I've been in the YouTube community since 2005. Okay. OG, right? I've been I remember watching content on YouTube gathered around the kitchen on my friend Malcolm's laptop. It was like 6 of us guys, and we were just watching these funny videos on the internet. And now people have turned that into a full-time job. Some of them have created businesses. They are job providers. And I feel that, one, this irrecoverably harms them in their business. And then I also feel that one of the bigger issues is this removes viewer choice. You as a viewer of content now are going to lose communication features, your ability to give opinions. Your speech is really on the line here, and you did nothing wrong. And that's one of the issues that bothers me with this. But also, I don't really feel that this properly does protect children. To your point, Ian, I have a young nephew who's under 13, and this isn't going to help if he just decides to make a YouTube account and say that he's over 18. There's nothing that protects him. Now, granted, he's breaking terms of service if he does that. Yeah. But does that mean that he's not entitled to any protections for his behavior online? He's still going to be vulnerable to this. So I think that the problem I have with this is that between YouTube and the FTC, none of them offered more tools to creators to protect their community and their environment, and they didn't offer tools to viewers, because I still believe that the best hands are our own. I still believe that the best people to protect children are their parents, and I believe that as content creators, we take the responsibility of protecting everyone in our community, whether they're under 13 or not, and I think that giving us tools to be able to be more responsible and to govern our content, to govern the behavior of our communities, and to be able to report things that we see, if we see something, say something, that would be appropriate. I am of the opinion, Ian, that more data protects us, not less.
Agreed. Well, you alluded to something that I really want to focus on, and that is the YouTube two-choice system. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, but I've referred to it in my previous videos. Under this new system, YouTube says you make content either for kids or not. And what's so difficult for me about that is that FTC law that dates back to 2015 to 2013 for that matter, provides and understands that there is a mixed audience exception to Coppa. And frankly, I gotta tell you, because you do it, a majority of content creators that make a lot of money for the YouTube platform are mixed audience, general audience stuff. So what I have a problem with is the two-choice system. What's your thought on the two-choice system?
My thought on the two-choice system is I wish YouTube had at least informed creators that they were going to ignore this exception and then gave us their reasoning. One of the biggest criticisms criticism of YouTube that I think is valid is that they do not communicate well. But here's why I sympathize with it.
Tell me.
It's engineering nerds and marketing bros. Okay? And like as a YouTube content creator, if you're watching this, you already understand the problem when you try to explain YouTube to normies. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
True.
So imagine now a computer engineer, somebody with a computer science background trying to explain to an artist, a creative person that's not, you know, a freak of nature like me, that's both creative tech and business, right? Like I'm just a big old nerd. I'm just like, you know, but
he is a big nerd.
Like we're just like talking about the Mandalorian for like 3 hours, right? But the thing is, when you are a super nerd about these things, translating that to English for a normal person in an applicable way, you understand and sympathize with this as a lawyer. You take some of the most dry information in the world and you try to make it digestible for like somebody like me. So I appreciate that. I can only imagine the difficulty of the problems in YouTube where you have an engineering person and a business person. They already have a hard time communicating with each other. Getting those people to speak English to us in a way that they understand, like, you guys have read the YouTube terms of service. That doesn't work out so well, right?
No.
When you're trying to combine legal jargon, business jargon, and technical jargon, it's just a bunch of jargon. It's jargon soup. It's not really tasty. It's not digestible. It's not easy for people. So YouTube needs to fix that problem of communicating to us as creators what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how does this realistically affect us. But that's very easy to say and very hard to do, because you as a content creator, how easy is it for you to explain what you do and how you make a living and why this is valid and justified to normal people, everyday people in your family, in your community, to the bank? Like, how do you explain something to someone when they have no experience of it? It's the same issue we as creators are having with the FTC and the federal government explaining. They don't understand the economics of YouTube. They don't understand the economics of the 21st century. They didn't even know that targeted ads that are preferential have a different ad rate than the general inventory. They thought we're paid the same way. You guys know better. You know
we watched your videos for sure.
You guys know better. You know that there are different niches of YouTube that are more profitable than others. But again, they don't understand that. They're not content creators.
But I have to say this, Roberto, and again, I know that all of our information, the things we think are generated by our context. And so being a lawyer, I think I associate more with the business context. But I have to say that YouTube should have their first focus on making money, and they do. They think about that. But when they're coming up with rules that affect their inventory, which is you, which is to a lesser extent me, they have got to think about us creators first. It should be a creator first platform. You know, a lot of people have been vocal about my criticism of YouTube, and listen, I hate doing it. I love YouTube. I just want them to do a better job and to think more thoughtfully about us creators. So the question I have for you, being a creative entrepreneur and a leading business person that has done amazing things, is what in the heck were they thinking when, if it's true, they overrided the technology, the engineering with the business purpose? I mean, they should have thought about this mixed use exception.
I think they did, and I think they did some type of calculation as to where this was going to fall, or at least I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, because if I was in their shoes, because I don't know why they made this decision, it's probably not exactly the direction I would go, but let's just say I did, right? Devil's advocate. If I did, I would have had to have come to the conclusion that it puts the platform at risk in some way, or is vulnerable either to further litigation because it creates maybe situations where the government will find a loophole or an exception, or will claim that we're not acting in good faith. With this mixed audience rule, I could see content creators who may not act in good faith. People who might exploit that, and then will have to be made an example of, and the ripple effects of that could open YouTube, in my opinion, possibly, you would know better than I, to more litigation, more scrutiny from the government. Government will find more reasons to fine them for hundreds of millions of dollars, because it's a really good revenue stream.
It is.
It's a really great revenue stream for the government, right? So, in my opinion, if I had to guess, they came up with some doomsday scenario where it's just too big of a risk, or the implementation of it would negatively impact the systems of YouTube, because let me ask you guys this, one way or another, as much as I would love for there to be more protections for content creators, how much do we really want them meddling with the code base? How much do we want them to tweak the algorithm? Like, has that really been in our best interest to have them do more tweaking to the algorithm?
No.
Because it's already getting ready to come.
Yes.
It's already, which is the thing I really am terrified about for most content creators. The demonetization issues that are about to happen are going to be massive. There's one silver lining. This ad inventory, ad spend, when you're not pulling out of a platform, it gets redistributed. So we're going to see a redistribution of wealth in terms of ad inventory. And there may be some people whose content benefits, but there will be plenty of people, many more people, who are devastated by this.
I want to talk a little bit more about demonetization, and we're going to see this on January 1st. It's just going to happen. We're going to wake up, and there's going to be a lot of channels
You
that
can
are
think of
demonetized.
it as a seventh adpocalypse.
I think so, and it may be greater. I did a consult, I think I guess it was Friday, with a content creator who has done an amazing job. He does animation, but he does it with like Dungeons and Dragons type themes, right?
Okay, I need to see this.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I hate to say this, but he broke down crying to me. We were doing a Zoom consult, and he just said, "Listen, I think my livelihood is gone. I'm not going to be able to provide for with my family." And the reason why, and this is what just made me so, it just triggered me so much, was because of that choice. For kids, not. He was like, "Ian, if I say it's not for kids, could there be a chance that I get, one, demonetized, the video taken down, two, potentially sued by the FTC?" And my answer to the question, because us lawyers have to speak directly, we have to speak accurately, was yes. And it was so hard for me to do. And so what I'm trying to get across, you've done a very good job of kind of explaining the complexities, but the bottom line is, my opinion is that when YouTube faced this doomsday scenario, they faced a situation, and they did an analysis. I did it in my last video. We have kids content under 13, we have both general audience content, and then we have adult content. That was evident to them since the beginning of their platform in 2006.
Absolutely, 1000% agree.
So there's a couple ways you can hit it. One is you can go straight to the creator and say, "We're having this problem." At least be transparent about it.
That's what I would have done differently.
I
would have made the same decision if it came to it, because I would have played the Ozymandias for the greater good card. You know, from watching it, you guys are like, I would have just, that's I'm a utilitarian in that way. But I would have, at least in this case, not kept it a secret. I would have felt in that way, that's where I want to put creators first. But I think that as creators and YouTube, I think YouTube always has to put the audience first. But I think that even with this situation with Coppa and the FTC, the audience was not considered or not put first. That's my biggest issue with it, is the viewer is robbed of a voice, the viewer is robbed of speech, the viewer is robbed of choices and options, and we are robbed of tools to decide how our content is consumed and how it's utilized. If you want to protect kids, there were a couple of things that I came up with, Ian, that all the FTC and YouTube had to do programmatically was give us some option to where if we say that our content is made for kids, that there are more tools and systems put in place to protect them. If the issue was that these scumbags were using timestamps and weaponized them, if you check a box, timestamps should go away, or if YouTube detects that there are children in your content or so on and so forth, timestamps go away. Not just in the comments, but also in your descriptions and things like that, because if someone re-uploads your content, then they're going to be able to make and check boxes for themselves. The same thing with being able to add those things to playlist. Don't just strip the playlist away. Give the content creator the choice to say that, hey, because my stuff has kids in it, I don't want it to be added to these types of playlist or to playlist or so on and so forth. Or give me and also notify me if my content appears in playlists, similar to the content matching system. Give us tools and resources to know how our content is being used, and give more content creators the ability to see duplicate content through the copyright tool and to take down people who are re-uploading their content and misusing and abusing it. Give creators more tools, more choice, and give the viewers the ability, if they see something, to say something. When we report comments, why don't we get a text box popped up on the screen that lets us give details about why this comment is something that we're reporting and what our concerns are, so if there's documentation, so if there are bad actors, there's a track record of this being a repeat offender and behavior, and then that's a tool for law enforcement if they need to get involved. I think that, again, just giving us more resources as a community to be able to protect everybody. would be the right thing.
Roberto, I wanted to bring up a subject that came to me in my comments in my recent videos. I had never even thought about this.
Okay.
But you were talking about predators, you're talking about the bad people out there.
Yeah.
And what about the bad people out there who make bad content, predatorial content, foul content, and then what they do, they upload it and they market it for kids under 13. What about this situation? What about the abuse of the system?
So things like Elsagate.
Yeah.
So anything that is marked for children, in my opinion, should be put into some kind of review and moderation queue. Because remember, I'm creative, but I also have a tech background. I learned to code at 13. I did some web development. I worked in web hosting in that industry for a while, and then I have the business mindset. So I consider content like that, and what happened with Elsagate, one, that's like foul. That's just bad. That's just like, come on, really? And then the fact that it was monetized. I think anything that's marked for kids, yes, you should be able to profit from it because of people like your client and people who do good content. But I think that it should have a higher level of scrutiny. And one of the issues I have with YouTube is the quality of the outsourcing for human reviewing. In my opinion, YouTube should reconsider their stance on their outsourcing efforts and maybe bring that in-house or even build another organization and company and use that for YouTube and for other things and stuff like that to make it profitable. I'm a business guy, I can appreciate that. And so I think that there should be a special monetization and monitoring team around children's programming and content. I understand it's a logistics issue. I'm very scared of them making an AI to offset that problem.
I know.
Look, AI and machine learning is great, and it gets it right 99% of the time, maybe even 99.9% of the time. I have two concerns though. 500 hours are uploaded every minute of every day to the YouTube platform, Ian. 1% or 0.1% it's a very minimal problem, but it's a pretty big problem for being so minimal. And so I do have reservations and concerns about that, because if you're caught in that 1%, there's a lot of people that are affected by that.
True. To kind of summarize then, kids' content should be put in a separate bay for review, whether it be AI or whether it be human review.
Or a mix of both.
Or a mix of both, and probably that's what would happen. Do you think
an initial scan and then an escalation?
Okay. Do you also think that it should be directed to the kids' YouTube separate app? Should we just have a situation where there's one entrance to YouTube, and if it's kids content, it goes to the kids app after review, and then if it's adult or mixed audience content, teen audience content, it goes to the actual YouTube app?
So in other words, segregating the content. I think
entirely, that's what I'm thinking.
I think that doing that and splitting the platform has some issues with it because of, one, the culture of YouTube, but also it makes it harder for a content creator to make a choice about their programming strategy and their content. And I think that it also means that there'd be a lot of confusion as to, well, what am I? Because we're already seeing that and experiencing that for people now. And then again, those mixed audience folks, they're so, and then does that limit opportunities? Because then there's a financial disincentive to do that. There's a financial disincentive. So I don't necessarily think that that's a great idea, but I do think something YouTube should do is allow you or I or anybody who makes what I would call safe for work content or appropriate for all ages content or mixed audience content. I think we should be allowed to opt out of the YouTube Kids app. That way, there's very little chance of us being misclassified or the FTC using that as a justification for looking harder at us. We should be able to opt out.
So on January 1st, 2020, thousands, maybe tens of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. It's going to be hundreds of thousands, Ian.
Hundreds of thousands of creators are going to be demonetized. Roberto, you've been doing this for many, many years. You're an OG creator. I want you to look into that lens and tell creators that are going to be demonetized on the first of the year what they should do.
Look, the golden era of YouTube is over. YouTube's not dead. This is still a viable platform for you, but it means we're gonna have to grow up, Ian, and we're gonna have to build real businesses. We can't rely on YouTube to give us an income and to throw us a lifeline. We can't even rely on them to always communicate everything to us that's happening. That has been the biggest criticism, and it's valid. So it's time to take control of our destiny. It's time to, as dramatic as that sounds and everything like that, pull up our big boy pants and get things done. And that's gonna mean we're gonna have to triple down on the relationship between us and our audience.
I hear you when you say that, saying, listen, it looks like we got to move to different platforms, or at least double down on different platforms.
I disagree. It's not even about different platforms as much as it is about, the simple fact is, if you have any type of audience, Ian, most creators, my issue with most content creators, and this is why I'm the business guy, is that they refuse to give their community the opportunity to support them with their wallet.
Okay.
Because it's uncomfortable to sell.
I see.
Most people who become YouTube content creators, it's a lot of young people, it's a lot of families, it's people who don't have a sales and marketing background. When I was a kid, I came up in retail. Like my first jobs besides photography and design, when I was paying my way through community college, I worked in the mall. I sold women's shoes like Al Bundy. I then went to selling books at the bookstore. I then went to selling stuff at running shoes at Champ Sporting Goods because I was a track and cross country runner. Championship runner actually back in high school.
Wow, nice.
5:15 mile. I was gonna break 5. So close. So close. In my prime, I was faster than Logan Paul. So.
Wow, faster than Logan Paul. That's very fast.
Yeah, I was a distance runner, so I just like it. But the reality is that I learned how to overcome some of my introversion. I learned to get comfortable with selling because I learned to solve problems for people one way or another. I learned to listen to them and to deliver to them real value.
Okay.
And we as creators, we can do that. We can listen to our community. We're very good at building audiences. But most content creators are not good at building businesses. That's why they've relied on YouTube AdSense, because they have the luxury of just creating.
I see.
And everything else will be taken care of.
Wow.
That era of YouTube is over, and you're going to have to learn and adapt new skills. And you might want to say that's hard, Roberto, but like, it's not like you were born learning how to video edit either. And so we're gonna have to learn how to build e-commerce businesses. We're gonna have to learn how to build direct-to-consumer brands. We're gonna have to learn how to listen to our audience and figure out whether it's letting them buy a t-shirt or buy a backpack. Peter McKinnon. Peter McKinnon has 3 million YouTube subscribers. 6,000 of them, myself included, we bought the new backpack. Now, in all fairness, we have some disposable income, right? So we call up the 400 bones and we bought like the backpack. But it was only 6,000 of us, less than 0.5% of Peter McKinnon's audience, to generate $2.2 million in revenue. Every single one of you should be creating an opportunity for your audience to say yes to you with their wallet and let them have a stake in the future of your content. Let them be an investor in the growth of your business. And I know that's scary. I know that's hard. And I know you're worried about being called a sellout by the 5 losers in the comment section. Get over it and value the people who want this from you and want to say yes and want to keep your content alive.
So what I hear you saying, and this is just a very salient point, I've never thought about this, is that AdSense revenue, which exists only on YouTube, is almost a crutch. It's been a crutch for creators.
It has been. It absolutely has been. Like, think about it like this. And I mean, it's a harsh point to make. It's harsh. And a lot of people are going to really disagree with me about this in the comments. But I want you to take into context that if you talk to any of your friends and your homies that are on TikTok or that used to be on Vine or on Snapchat or Instagram, guess what? They make content and they don't get ad revenue. They don't cry that they're being exploited by the platform. They are happy to have the opportunity to reach an audience, and they hustle. They sell their t-shirts, they sell their products and services, they hustle their brand deals. And some of them, they get better brand deals than you with a smaller audience because they've had to learn to negotiate and sell themselves and learn their value and hustle because they weren't gonna get a paycheck every month from, Daddy Google.
I had never really thought about that. And I also wondered over time about other platforms that don't pay. Like I always thought that IGTV, which is another platform that I'm really using right now, should be paying their creators ad revenue, but it does create this kind of entitlement mentality a little bit. And also it probably contributes to less compelling content. I mean, it's really, like you said, selling is really hard. It's especially hard to sell and be compelling. Would you agree?
It's look, the reason that salespeople make so much money, it's a high income skill.
It is
one of the most valuable high income skills because it depends entirely on communication. But the communication to entertain versus enable a buying decision are two very different things, and at times they can compete. It would mean stepping up to another level. The other thing is, understanding whether or not you have a buying audience. I understand that a lot of you, especially those of you that are going to be affected by Coppa, you have a young audience. So it's not like they're going to buy things from you, or maybe the parents aren't going to buy things for you.
Yeah.
But here's what I would tell you. If you were smart enough to be able to build an audience and build a community, and you've been able to make money off of that so far, then you might have a little bit of runway, and you have to think about, can I use these skills? And is there another part of my life or another part of my personality where I can use these skills to build a smaller, more valuable buying audience that I don't have to put a lot of time into cultivating, that actually has so much more profitability and potential upside. There are so many micro niches. So when you think about the investment that people will make when their goals are significant enough, then that's why there are certain niches in YouTube that have a better profit center, or better for brand deals, or better for everything, right? If you were clever enough and good enough to build an audience and build this great entertainment audience, you are a smart person. You are competent enough to take another aspect of your life and say, there's this other part of my life I haven't explored that I can make another channel or build another brand or a website or a podcast around, and it would be very lucrative. Look, in the pivot of H3,
yes,
they pivoted away from their main channel, which was comedy and parody and internet commentary and skits, to primarily focus on their podcast.
On their podcast, yeah.
And their podcast is actually more popular than their previous YouTube channel, but it's more profitable and more lucrative. The content is actually easier to make.
Yes, it is.
And it has more opportunities for sponsorship. It has, because of their clip show, more opportunities for ads and monetization. Their other channel, constantly fighting demonetization, constantly. They came to prominence because their content was vulnerable to lawsuits.
Agreed. Made law.
And yet the podcast is not. It's less trouble and more money.
Yep, and more fun, probably.
And the thing is, it's relaxed content because, again, Ethan didn't have to worry about his creative burnout.
Yeah, creators that are going to be demonetized are going to have to they're going to have to brainstorm. They're going to have to reformat their content to be able to sell more, sell better, and understand that they're not going to be able to rely on AdSense revenue in the future. Do you think that there's ever going to be a point where the rules are going to be changed back, so that these content creators that do rely on AdSense revenue are going to be able to get that AdSense revenue back?
What I believe is that we have to understand, Ian, that the reason that the golden era of YouTube is over is because YouTube became mainstream and popularized. And while that attention and that traffic gave people more opportunities, I remember an era in YouTube where no one could break 2 million subscribers for years. I remember watching that until I think it was Ryan Higa who actually broke through 2 million subscribers first. It was either them or Epic Mealtime. User-generated content is always a vulnerability and a liability, because you have to trust users to act in good faith, and a lot of them don't. And therefore, no, I don't think YouTube will become a curated platform in the way that you're suggesting. But make no mistake, the average consumer doesn't come to YouTube for you and me. The average consumer does come for Kevin Hart and The Rock.
True.
And they then see the collaborations that those people do with OG creators and with Will Smith and everything like that. Make no mistake, studio-based content, highly produced content, TV shows, movies, that's always been the main driver to bring the average consumer to YouTube, not PewDiePie. Remember this. Interesting. The largest, most viewed videos on YouTube have always been music videos from the very beginning, and music video parodies. The most viewed video on YouTube for the longest time was Gangnam Style. And then, of course, we all know about Baby Shark, right?
Yeah, let's not sing it, okay? I don't need copyright claim.
But it's like copy strike. But no, it's always been, music videos have been one, and music and the replay value of that. Even the Paul brothers manipulated the music aspect, and those are the most viewed videos on YouTube. It's always been these things that can tap into mainstream culture and pop culture. Internet culture has always been a separate thing from the average consumer. It's starting to gain prominence. And we've romanticized, as content creators, our importance. We've become entitled. We've become soft. We've become ego-driven. And it's believe it, it's like, I don't want to have to say that. It's hard, it's harsh, but it's the truth. If you really go and you look up the things that get the most views and got the most views on YouTube historically, it has always been the music videos, Ian. It's always been that. And even now, I feel that there's you see the rise of these media companies using YouTube as an outlet.
Yes, for sure.
Content creators are frustrated with that, and they're like, leave us alone, right?
Yeah.
Let us have our thing. You already have television, for Christ's sakes. But the way that the average consumer wants to view content, I mean, it's not like you and I aren't going to sit there and aren't going to be sitting there on the plane happy to watch The Mandalorian on our phone.
Yeah,
like,
we're going to do it.
We're going to do that, right? So, like, I mean, so when you put the consumer, the viewer first, which is what we all strive to do.
Yes.
If YouTube's going to put viewers first, we're going to see that invasion. I mean, it's justified that the trending page has so many of those late night shows, because it's like those people have had a decade of attention and being on billboards. People know who they are. More people know who they are, frankly, than the biggest content creators. I mean, most normal people in your life don't know who Mr. Beast is.
No, they don't.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
But it's also why he has so much growth potential, and why one day he will surpass PewDiePie.
Yeah, he will.
Like, he will. Because he's in the early stages of his career. He's gaining that notoriety. He's gaining attention.
Yep.
And I think that the future of YouTube is not as grim as people think. I feel that, yes, the quote-unquote AdSense money, in my opinion, it was never easy money. It was accessible. It was there.
Yeah.
But I've talked to creators who've lost their AdSense before because they've been hacked or their account's been deleted.
Yeah.
And that harsh lesson taught them a lot.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say before we got to end at some point here, but what I wanted to talk about is one of the things about AdSense revenue. It's not that much generally for smaller channels, but I do think that it provides a pot of gold. If there's something out in the future that creators, I think people are interested in getting in the platform. Boy, if I make a viral video, I'll make $1 million. If that goes away, and it could very well for thousands, if not tens of thousands of creators at the first of the year, then are people going to be like, listen, why am I going to go to the trouble of making YouTube videos if there's not that, win the lottery type goal out there?
I'm going to be harsh, Ian. They're soft.
Okay.
Because guess what? Those Instagram photographers, those Instagram models, they don't get AdSense check. They don't have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The Vine kids who then came later over to YouTube didn't have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow waiting for them. Twitch streamers don't have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow waiting for them. They only are supported when their fans tip them and when people pay to subscribe to their content. And if they stop making, that's it for them. They don't have any consistency or continuity in that unless they have a sponsorship deal where they have a year-long contract. They still have to honor the terms of that agreement in the way that an employee or a contractor does. So if you need that win the lottery viral video thing to inspire you to motivate and motivate you to put anything out, you may not really be a true content creator. And that sounds harsh, that sounds unreasonable and unfair, but I want to remind all of you that Mr. Beast went and made videos for like 6 years and made no money on it. He was a small content creator just 3 years ago. And I think that anyone who needs that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and everything like that will never out-hustle someone like Mr. Beast, will never out-hustle the Paul brothers, will never out-hustle a David Dobrik of the thing. It's like, you have to be unreasonable. If you need guarantees, if you are so privileged that you can only say yes or try something if there's a guarantee of an outcome, you are soft and you will always lose to the unreasonable dude or the unreasonable girl, because if they don't need that, if all they want is to play the game, you can't beat them. You can't compete, you can't keep up. And that's where work ethic and discipline and wanting it more and being hungry will always be the game. And you cannot defeat someone like that. You can never beat the unreasonable person.
Wow, those are strong words from Roberto Blake. Thank you so much for coming in today and talking with me. I tell you, I learned so much in just talking with you, and I hope everyone else did too. I think in the future, we're just gonna have to change our goals. Maybe in the past, we thought about getting ad revenue as being one of our main goals. I think the future is to use the platform like you would, using the YouTube platform like you would the other platforms, and that is to be able to bring value to your audience, to the people that watch you and spend their hard time with you, as opposed to trying to win on the AdSense game. And I'm so thankful. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks so much. The last thing I want to leave your viewers with is find a way to put your audience first. Find a way to put your audience first. And again, I have so much content that can help you if you're trying to figure out how to make this financially viable, because I get it. Look, I did the first 3 years of my YouTube channel at a loss. It's something I don't really talk about that much. I've been trying to get more vocal about it.
Sure.
I didn't make any money. Dude, I was in an MCN deal where after $300, I lost 50% of my revenue, all the way from when I had 18,000 subscribers all the way to 120,000 subscribers. Half the money I made on ads out the door. I lost my Amazon affiliate after 2 or 3 years of bringing Amazon $500,000.
Wow.
I made one mistake, they cut me off. I lost what was a $1,500 a month to a $2,000 a month paycheck, and it didn't destroy me because I figured out how to diversify, and I figured out to never be defeated and to never rely on anything but myself.
Wow.
And it's just, at the end of the day, you gotta find a way to make it you and your audience. That's the only way to stay independent. That's the only way to stay free as a content creator. It's gotta be you and the audience.
Well, Roberto, I just also wanted to bring up that you have a number of offerings for creators to be able to learn how to be a creative entrepreneur on the internet, on the different social media platforms, on YouTube. Can you let everybody know what those offerings are?
Actually, you know what? Just go to my YouTube channel, watch all of my free content on my YouTube channel, go listen to my podcast, and if I ever create any value for you, you'll figure out how to find your way to me and we'll work together. It's but I don't want to pitch your audience. If I deliver any value for you, if I help you in any way, if I help you make even $1, then you know how to find me.
All right, thanks Roberto. I'm Ian Corzine, your social media lawyer, and as always, you can always find me and get questions answered on iancorzine.com. Roberto, thank you, bro.
Thanks so much, brother.
Thanks so much for coming in. All right, bye.